Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 21st edition of Wow Request Live. This is going to be our live review of No Mercy 2002. We live reacted to this show on Tuesday. Unfortunately, Google Hangouts is back to malfunctioning, so we weren't able to use the same badass background that we had for the live reaction. However, this is going to be a fun review because I actually think that we're going to have more to say in this review than we've had in our last couple of reviews because of some of the crazy shit that went down in between the matches on this show. So, John, how did you feel about No Mercy 02?
I mean, dude, again, I used to own this show as a kid on DVD. I loved it back then. And you know what? I'm happy to say that I still enjoyed it now. It wasn't something that I thought my cynicism would kind of bring it down or whatever. But I'm like, you know what? This era was great. I mean, tag team wrestling was on display in this long before like teams like the Revival and DIY made it great again, which was fucking awesome to see. The Hell in a Cell, I'm happy to say that after all these years, in my opinion, still holds up, if for no other reason, because the rivalry was so personal and it had the blood to match. You know, I have my criticisms about the World Heavyweight title match, but we'll get into that. But on the whole, yeah, I think I'd give this show, if I was to put a grade to it, like I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. I thought the stuff that was good was really good. And even the stuff that was bad, I think never lingered to the point where I'm like, oh, fuck this. So, yeah, I enjoyed it, man. Great stuff.
Yeah, I'd give it a strong 7.5. So I'm a little bit lower than you, but still pretty positive about this show. I enjoyed the show. So you ready to get into it?
Let's get into it, man.
All right. First thing we got was Taker staring at his cast. Kane showed up and just said, "So, how was your week?" And they just stared at each other, and that was it. But then we get into the actual show. They do the big hype package. And our first match of the night is Y2J and Christian versus Booker T and Goldust.
You know, a solid tag team bout to me that, again, you know, like I really grew up in this era, and you were saying like how much I remember and how much you feel like you missed out on. And like, I know the whole thing was, you know, Ken, Booker T, and Goldust win the tag gold, and Jericho didn't like being called a sucker, and Christian was kind of like Jericho's backup because, you know, they had that whole friendship going. And I felt like that played nicely. Great back and forth. I mean, Booker T's offense at the time was electrifying. You know, you see him compete, and it's no wonder that he got as over as he did leading into WrestleMania 19 that year. And, you know, Goldust was solid as well. And then you got Jericho and Christian. Christian, who I feel like even now in some ways is kind of understated for the quality of worker that he is. And Jericho's just Jericho. So you get those elements together, you're bound to get a good match. Big praise to Jericho specifically for that beautiful recovery off the ring rope exploding and then just improvising the spot with the Bulldog on the tag belt and then going to the top rope to do the moonsault instead of just doing a lion salt because of the nature of the ring. And yeah, Jericho and Christian win via heel means, which is what a heel team should do. So no qualms here. I thought it was a solid opener.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah. So what'd you think about this, man?
I enjoyed this. I agree with you that Booker T was just awesome. Really, everyone looked great. The only person that I think looked better in more recent matches than he did in this match was Christian. I feel like Christian definitely got better with age. And back in the early 2000s, he was good, but not great. And I feel like 2010, 2011 Christian was freaking great. So the big kind of moment in this match that threw me off was when the freaking middle rope broke. That was the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, it really was. And looking back on it, I'm so thankful Jericho didn't break his neck because that just looked bad. But again, I thought all the participants, again, specifically Jericho and Goldust doing the final sequence of spots, recovered beautifully from it. So, you know, if anything, I almost add that to the match. Like, they have something freaky like that happen, and it doesn't really throw you off your game. So, yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely. All right. Jericho got the win with a top rope lion salt since he couldn't use the middle rope. That's actually, I think, him going for a middle rope lion salt is what caused the middle rope to break, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's why I said I'm thankful he didn't break his neck because he goes for it and then just like falls to the canvas, bam, because the rope exploded. It was nuts.
Yeah, that was so weird. And it exploded right at the connection between the turnbuckle and the ring post too. So like, such a freak accident. I've never seen that before. I didn't know that happened on this show, and I haven't seen it since, so it was nuts. Up next, though, after Y2J and Christian retain their titles, Funaki has a scoop. SmackDown's #1 announcer has Al Wilson, and we basically just get a bunch of recaps of the story with Dawn trying to seduce Al. Torrie caught him in the shower, all that shit. And then when Funaki finally kind of hammers down and says, hey, what's going on here? All Al does is quote Bill Clinton, I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes. Yeah, Al denying.
And then we got the great gag of Funaki turning to the camera and being like, what I learned today is that Al Wilson doesn't understand English. Funaki, SmackDown's #1 commentator, signing off.
Yeah, Funaki's great, man. I love me some Funaki. #1 announcer. So great stuff here with him and Al. Again, growing up with this story and actually preferring it to the Katie Vick story. Just kind of grinning the whole way through this, watching Al just kind of watch the footage and then be like, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Oh, Al, you ham. So yeah, after this, right, we do get Torrie Wilson versus Dawn Marie.
That is, in fact, correct.
Okay, there you go. Wow, that dramatic pause though.
Yeah, I actually timed this match. I went back and I looked at the time, and it was 4 minutes and 40 seconds, which it felt a little bit longer than that. It felt like it was like 6-7 minutes, but still, it's more than I would have expected out of a match of this caliber on a pay-per-view in 2002. Like I would have thought, like, oh, yeah, 2.5 minutes, but it was almost double that.
Yeah, absolutely. I not only did I feel like it was longer than that, but I actually mean that as a compliment because I felt like they did maximize their time. And I never really cringed at this match or thought like, oh God, and like if anything, I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like, wow, this match is still going. Neither woman really looked bad. I'm not saying either woman was exemplary, mind you, but both women did what they came there to do. Torrie wins with a neck breaker. Which honestly, I gave points to that match too because it's like, wow, that's so much better than the roll up of death. So I'll give it to you. Torrie and Dawn, way to go. And so yeah, Torrie wins with the neck breaker, and there's really not much more you can say than that.
All right, man. So Torrie with the neck breaker, and then we can move on. We got Coach Jonathan Coachman interviewing Rob Van Dam, talking about Ric Flair screwed him out of the world title a month ago, and RVD gives Flair some credit, and he's like, oh yeah, he is the jet flying, wheel and deal and all that stuff. But then he does like an impersonation talking about how he is the frog splashing, all that stuff. And he does this strut and he does the woo all at the same time. And then, of course, he finishes off with the I am or Rob Van Dam. But then, before we close out of this little interview segment, Coach sees Brock and Paul Heyman walking in the back with Tracy. And he asks Tracy about her accusations. And she's all angry. And she's just like, Taker's going to get exactly what's coming to him. And then when we come back to the ring, JR calls her a Jezebel.
Yeah. And then King, I'm sure, like, Jezebel, what are you, that whole shtick. So yeah, great stuff by Van Dam. Definitely a fan favorite around this time. That's why I said, like, Triple H's politics, man. RVD's even spoken about it in interviews. He always felt like Hunter was kind of jealous that he was, he was more over with the crowd. He was so liked by the crowd. But I feel like he should have been, whether you like the guy's style or not. And you and I have said this on the podcast before. When somebody's over, that's just undeniable. Like, I'm not the biggest, I wasn't the biggest Sami Zayn fan as a babyface. Couldn't deny that he connected with people and he deserved to be NXT champion. Same way with Van Dam. I feel like he definitely should have gotten the world title run around this time, which is kind of what inspired this whole feud between him and Rick. And yeah, so good stuff from Van Dam. And then the Brock, Heyman, Tracy stuff. Yeah, just a little bit of extra fluff before we go into the big Hell in a Cell match. So nothing to complain about there. Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we can move on from the interview to the actual match, which was Ric Flair versus Rob Van Dam. Not a bad match at all. Ric Flair is a freaking awesome heel with the behind the ref's back low blow and just going after the leg constantly and the figure four and all that stuff. Flair was just a classic, great, old school heel. And in the end, he did fall to RVD in the 5-star frog splash.
Yeah, that 5-star frog splash, man, what a legit finisher too. Like, goddamn.
I never really appreciated it that much. I never really felt like it was all that amazing.
I always felt like, even in terms of like the aesthetic, even if you weren't like that impressed by it, I always knew, even as a kid, like if he hit it on anybody. That was it. Like, it was definitely a very protected finish. I don't remember anybody kicking out of the frog splash. Maybe Lesnar, because Lesnar was a freak and they wanted to give him the world. But that's it. Like, protected out the ass finish, as it should be, because, like, I think most finishers should be protected. That's why it's called a finisher. So I appreciated that. I agree with your sentiments about Rick being the old school. I mean, that's great. And I love the story, too. And I kind of mentioned this on live reactions. Before Rick turned heel, he was like this sad, broken guy, kind of directionless as a face. I mean, I even said as a joke, he lost a freaking Rico, and then he aligns with Triple H by screwing Van Dam out of the world title at Unforgiven a month prior. And not only that, he had earned other goodwill because he screwed Van Dam out of that lumberjack match on Raw. So Rick and Van Dam just constantly like building their rivalry on the Raw television shows. So, yeah, Van Dam going over was absolutely the right move, but I love that he went over in a way that didn't discredit Rick because we got to see him be the Nature Boy, and I really, really like that. This is a solid match. I honestly, I think you even said at one point in live reactions, and I agreed with you, and I kind of wanted to reiterate, it's a shame that you don't really see heels like Ric Flair much anymore. Like, if anybody wanted to, like, make a heel character and know how to carry themselves in the ring as a heel, I might even show them this match. It's just a quick little primer of like, okay, here are a few bullet points to consider, because he really just understood the character and he committed to it. So, fun match. Right guy goes over. Nothing more to say than that.
All right. Well, you pretty much summed it up. So let's get to the next segment, which was a backstage segment. I love how many of these there were on the show. I probably would have hated it in the day because it felt more like an episode of Raw than a pay-per-view. But given that this is more of a hindsight kind of a glimpse into the past kind of thing, I appreciate getting more narrative context. And here we got the Big Show talking to Stephanie McMahon, and then we see Bischoff getting all pissed off about it and telling him about how, I'm your boss and I don't give you permission to talk to Stephanie McMahon ever. And Show reminds Bischoff, I'm a giant. I should be main eventing. I'm 7'2", 500 pounds. And then Bischoff is just like, oh, yeah? Well, you're not allowed. And what are you going to do about it? And Big Show's just like, what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? I'll tell you what I'm going to do about it. Next time I get my hands on your neck, I'm going to snap it like a twig, threatening Bischoff if he doesn't give him more main events, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it was. I forget exactly how it all started, admittedly, but man, would that one segment have a huge ripple effect, at least on the SmackDown product, because, yeah, Show's talking to Stephanie, and then Eric's like, no, you're Raw property, which means you're my property, and you can't talk to Stephanie. And Big Show's just like, bitch, if you do not give me those main events. And then, yeah, it would end up, if you want to talk about ripple effects, Big Show would debut on SmackDown because Taker and Lesnar would have a segment after their Hell in a Cell match. And, I'd say spoiler, but the show's from fucking 2002. We just live reacted to it. We know that Lesnar retains. And they would shake hands, which would begin Brock's babyface turn as well. And, Lesnar would say, look, I only did what I had to do because you're the Undertaker. I needed an advantage. I was going to do whatever it took to win. But you kicked my ass. We kicked each other's ass. And then I respect you for it. They shake hands. When Taker goes back up the ramp, Big Show ambushes him and he throws him off the stage. And so, yeah, that set up Brock Lesnar, or not Brock Lesnar, that set up Big Show as the heel, took Taker out for a little bit. He, of course, would end up getting that title shot at Survivor Series, and the whole build was like, oh, Big Show's so massive, Brock. This is Paul Heyman. I don't know if you can beat him. I don't know if you can suplex him. I don't know if you can get him up for an F5. So that leaves me thinking, can you even beat the Big Show? Then, of course, we get the heel turn, and then Big Show's next big program after that would be with The Undertaker at No Way Out into WrestleMania because he would return at the Rumble. So, yeah, Big Show, fucking Big Show, actually seemed to be a bigger part of the SmackDown product because of this segment as kind of a catalyst in the ensuing months. And so, yeah, I just wanted to provide narrative context of, like, the fallout of this. And, yeah, just an enjoyable segment that I can appreciate a lot more knowing what came of it. Big Show feuding with Lesnar and Undertaker and on the side, Nathan Jones. So, yeah, there you go.
Never forget they tried to make Nathan Jones a thing.
Yeah, I'll never let him forget it. Believe me.
Oh my god, that guy was so awful and just like uncoordinated. It was.
You know what the shame of it is, though? I love the idea, and I want to stress that I love the idea of Nathan.
Well, yeah,
like this guy that's in this maximum security prison, this real badass, and he comes out and he like wants to dominate wrestling. Like I really liked that idea as a kid, which is why it's a shame it was such a fucking bust. Goddamn.
That's the thing with WWE. They've always had cool gimmicks. They just refuse to give their best gimmicks to their best performers. That's the problem. When you give a great gimmick to a good performer, you get the Undertaker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, and that's the thing because apparently Nathan Jones really was like, he really did do time for like armed robberies and stuff. But Eddie even says in his autobiography, you know, Cheating, Death, Stealing Life, he actually mentions Nathan Jones in the opening pages because he said like Nathan Jones quit because he couldn't handle the travel. He even said like time behind bars was easier than a WWE schedule. Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, he was legitimately in like real life one of Australia's most wanted at some point and ended up serving 7 years in a maximum security penitentiary. Like,
yeah,
that was legit. That's a shoot. That's real.
Yeah.
But the problem is he didn't get into wrestling until he was already like almost 30, I think, almost 30 years old. He was like 27, 28 years old.
Yeah.
And that was when he got into wrestling. He was brand new. Like it was almost like a Batista, only he was apparently less coachable and less willing to put in the work.
Yeah. Just crazy to me, man. Like,
yeah, dude, because he was like, I mean, like you mentioned, he was doing like basically he was a freaking thief. He was just doing all kinds of freaking armed robberies and stealing shit. And then when he got caught, he got put in the prison. When he got out in 1994 or 95-ish.
Right.
He started a strongman career, and then he went into MMA, and then he came into wrestling.
Yeah, and now apparently, because I just looked up his wiki, because talking about him this much between the live reactions and this stuff, I'm like, well, where are they now? And apparently he's acting now, because he originally, get this, he was supposed to be with TNA in 2008, but he got nerve damage caused by a cement truck hitting his left arm, and that sidelined him for 3 months, and he just never wrestled for them, and I don't think he's had a match like since. And yeah, now he's doing acting, and he just did a film last year. So yeah, that's still like a recent thing for him. Nathan Jones is now an actor, so that's where they end up.
That makes sense though, because he can play that monster character so well.
Yeah.
That's the thing with him, was he did the character stuff well. He just couldn't do it in the ring.
Oh well, get a load of this. He apparently was in Mad Max Fury Road. That's
cool.
Yeah.
As Rictus Erectus.
yeah, that's crazy. All right, well, now that we kind of covered the Big Show stuff, we can move on.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Rictus Erectus. That's amazing. Up next, though, we got a big Intercontinental Championship title package, which you would think, oh, we're about to get the Intercontinental title match. But no, we didn't get the Intercontinental title match. We got the Cruiserweight title match because we got Tajiri versus Jamie Noble.
Yeah, which was a fun match. It's just like emotionally, you kind of swerved on me, giving me the Intercontinental title package, and I'm like, oh, I got to get pumped for Kane. And no, it's actually Jamie Noble, Nydia, and Tajiri. But still, though, fun match, great back and forth. Great false finish at one point when Jamie Noble hits the Tiger Bomb, but Tajiri kicks out, which still kind of gives me the hope that Tajiri as the babyface can win. But then him and Nydia cheat because Tajiri's going for a victory roll from the electric chair position, but Nydia helps Noble get a leverage advantage to kind of lay on Tajiri and get the 3 count. But yeah, really fun cruiserweight match. I mean, Noble was always a solid worker that honestly back then I didn't appreciate nearly enough because I was too caught up in the gimmick of him, like with his trailer trash gimmick. And Tajiri, I always appreciated Tajiri. Great stuff. So yeah, I thought this was a fun cruiserweight match. And the more I could say than that, I mean, do you have any thoughts you want to share about this?
No, I feel like this was a solid but not spectacular match by any means. It was all right. Noble won because Nydia grabbed him by the foot when he had Tajiri up on his shoulders, and it allowed him to just kind of sink his hips and plant Tajiri into a pinning combination for the 3 count.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and then, of course, after the match, Tajiri forcibly kissed Nydia, and then Noble got pissed about it. It was just like, oh, why don't you see how a real man does it? And then he kissed Nydia, and then Tajiri kicked him in the back of the head.
It's like, yeah, fuck you.
But I remember, didn't Nydia have like a big smile on her face after Tajiri's kiss?
Oh yeah, she liked it. She liked it, at least in character. Yeah, absolutely.
God, WWE was really, really bad about that kind of stuff back in the day.
Yeah, it was.
All right. So up next, Benoit is in the back, and he finds Eddie Guerrero and lets him know, hey, man, Chavo's getting his ass handed to him by Kurt Angle right now. And
Yeah.
we kind of follow them through the halls, and we hear Chavo screaming from a room with a door locked. And then he's just like, oh, and he's just he's basically making fun of this whole situation. And then he says, that's not Chavo's voice. I say, it's a little girl. And then Chavo gets thrown out. Yeah. So Eddie got all mad and he went to attack Kurt, but then security grabbed him and stopped him. So yeah, Kurt Angle is allowed to assault Chavo, but if Eddie tries to assault Kurt, it's illegal.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. I thought this segment was funny as a kid, and it still holds up now. I love Eddie's charisma. I love too. Benoit's just the look on his face when Eddie's telling him he's full of shit. He's like, oh, do tell before this big thing's gonna get exposed that we actually were beating the shit out of your nephew. And poor Chavo, man, he's getting bitched out by his own family back then. God, no wonder he would fall from those heights and become Kerwin White at one point. God damn. But yeah, great segment. Put a big smile on my face seeing all those guys interact, and we can move on.
Well, up next then, we got Kane versus Triple H. Kane is awesome. This match was overbooked all to hell, and Triple H won because of help from everything.
You know what? That's the perfect review of this match. I don't even really want to waste much breath. Fuck this match. Like, Kane deserves so much better than what he got. I mean, the build to this as a kid, now I see how horrendous it was because, oh my God, you really actually fucking went there. But at the time, like, I was pro Kane. I was like, no, fuck Triple H, Kane. You fight for yourself. You fight for your right to be happy. And the lumberjack segment, which admittedly still gives me chills of him chokeslamming both Rosie and Jamal while Triple H is freaking the fuck out because it's like, oh God, Rick, can my shovel beat it to death? Can it? You bet it can, Hunter. You bet it can. Because Jesus fucking Christ. I will say though, the only positive I'll give this match as it relates to Kane, God, I love the things that you are permitted to do with a monster character. This man took a sledgehammer shot to the fucking sternum and still hit a choke slam and had the match won if it wasn't for goddamn ref bumps. Like, oh my God. Yeah, I'm Kane and RVD, man. Two guys, Kane, RVD, and Booker T, three guys that really deserve title runs. I mean, if you want to debate Steiner, that's fair. But three guys that absolutely, with their level of over, should have had that belt in 02. But no, let's award it to Triple H, and then let's keep it with fucking shenanigans. Fuck this match, man. Fuck this match. But yeah, Triple H retains. I hate everyone. This match is an abomination, and it's fucking cancer because of what it does to the Kane character when he deserved so much better. But no, and I did kind of like the story, admittedly, so I can't take the piss out of it completely. But no, you know who I will do the job for? My buddy Shawn Michaels. Hey, Shawn, let's just do hot potato, you and me with this, right? Yeah, that's fucking great. So, yeah, fuck everything about this. Let's move on.
Let's move on, like you said. Up next, we got Tracy in Steph's office. And she does admit that Paul Heyman put her up to lying about everything, and that even though she and Undertaker have been in a relationship, it was long before Taker got married to Sarah, and that she would do anything to get Taker back, even if it means lying about sleeping with him. And then Taker shows up and calls her a bitch, and then Steph kicks her out.
Yeah, good guy Steph. I miss her so much. I don't know what happened. You know what? I'm starting to put theories together that maybe, like, because Triple H couldn't sire a son, he blamed her for it. And, like, she just grew resentful because it's like, how dare you fucking blame me?
It's definitely a major who hurt you moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because I want to know what happened to the only McMahon. Well, actually, I did support Shane, too, when he first feuded with Kane, because, like, wow, your mother got tombstoned on a stage, for fuck's sake. But, like, the only McMahon that I genuinely, with my whole heart, supported, and I'm like, we love you, Stephanie, and you're the best GM ever, and you're nothing like that creep Eric Bischoff. And, you know, like, what happened to you? So, yeah, I enjoyed this. I miss babyface Steph. I'll be honest. If they did it right, I could probably fall for face Steph now if they did it right, because I'd be like, oh, we missed you. You do have good in there, but it'll never happen because we're not meant to be happy, and we're just slowly meant to just march to the heat death of the universe. So yeah, good segment, good thoughts, and we can move on.
All right. Well, after this, we got Benoit and Angle versus Edge and Mysterio, and I love this match. It was an absolute barn burner. Everyone was great, but I want you to just splurge.
Dude, how can I not? Oh, everybody's brilliant. I'm just gonna say, I do genuinely think this was my match of the night. Because again, fuck Kane, Triple H, which, oh God, overbooked to hell. And that really is my biggest criticism, is that was just overbooked on a more serious note. Hell in a Cell was great. But look, I'm just gonna fucking own it, okay? You guys have been watching TWitWoW long enough. If you haven't pieced it together, I'm just gonna blaze it for Neon Lights. I'm the fucking snob. Oh, well, do you enjoy that technical wrestling? Yes, it's quite delightful. You know, I'm that guy. And this shit was fucking great. And I will say, too, I don't just want to splooge about Benoit and Angle because they did the stuff that always gets me to pop. Credit to Edge and Ray that understand that they're a babyface tag team. And what is a babyface tag team supposed to do? Be fun and electrifying. And their offense here was so inspired. I loved it. I mean, from Benoit having Mysterio in like the power slam position, but then Edge drop kicks Ray to give him the leverage advantage to pin Benoit. Benoit having Edge in a crossface, but Edge gets the ropes. And how does Ray have his back by 619ing Benoit? That was really cool. Kurt Angle on the top rope. And like him and Edge are fighting, but then Edge like propels Ray onto Kurt with a Frankensteiner. Then, you know, catching Ray in a powerbomb position, turning him around so that he can moonsault off of Edge's shoulders onto, I believe, Benoit, because it came down to Edge and Angle. Like, as the babyface team, they brought the chemistry, and it makes more sense because narratively, Benoit and Angle don't like each other. You know that they haven't worked out like double team moves and stuff like that, but you expect that that's a core of tag team wrestling, right? It's fucking tag team wrestling. So Edge and Ray, I feel like, more than compensated for the deficit caused by the narrative of Benoit and Angle hating each other. And I really want to go out of my way to praise them for that because their offense was so much fun here. Ray, God, this is not a diss on Ray or Rey Mysterio fans, but like I loved him when he first came into the company, and I remember like the vignettes and stuff, and I know now why he was such a big fucking deal, because when he can work with men like this, the bumps are a lot better because he fucking flies through the air when getting suplexed, and the high flying is great. Edge was a fucking, I don't want to say necessarily a top babyface in O2, but he was up there. Like, people fucking loved Edge, and it showed. Angle and Benoit, I mean, you're not going to get anybody more crisp with the suplexes and everything. I love, too, Benoit's one setup on Ray in the crossface where Ray tried to go for that, like, wheelbarrow bulldog that he does, and Benoit just slammed him down, go right into the crossface. Like, that was great. Just the idea, I'm never usually able to call this many spots, and I feel like I've listed, like, 10. That's how much this match holds up for me, and that's how much it really resonates. These guys killed it, and let's remember, the big story here, outside of Benoit and Angle having to get along and Edge and Ray being friends and wanting to do it, this is all about who would become the first ever SmackDown Tag Team Champions. And so history, and not in that history, guys, but no, legitimate record books history was being established here. And Benoit and Angle get it because Angle tabs out Edge, which I'm going to be truthful. You know, good call, not just because of Benoit, but my God, Edge already took Angle's hair and his dignity. Give the man fucking something. Give him a win. So that was great. And yeah, dude, not only do I feel like this was match of the night, but I feel like when you look back on this, as we have a full decade later and a good bit over at that, a good chunk of change over, it still holds up. And it's still really good. And really, these are two makeshift teams, which is even better. And like, I say that because like they were making a tag division, and this made you feel like, you know what, not only is a tag division a good idea, it's one that I can really get behind if this is the vision you have for it. So yeah, there's your splurge. And I didn't want it to just be Benoit because there were 4 brilliant performers in this match, not just one.
Definitely. This really, like, I feel like this was Angle and Edge, or not Edge, Angle and Benoit basically in their prime. It was Ray right before, or really, I feel like Ray in his prime was like 97, 98 WCW. So this is prime Ray. And this was pre-prime Edge because Edge hit his stride in like 05, 06.
Yeah.
So it was like, and just based on that, the fact that Ray was post-prime, Edge was pre-prime, and the other two guys were in their primes, the right team went over, right?
Yeah, absolutely they did.
Kurt Angle made Edge tap out. That makes all the sense in the world. I love it.
Especially because, and let you know, just again to provide narrative context, these guys would not hold on to the belts very long. I feel like they'd lose them like 2 weeks later, I want to say, to Edge and Mysterio in a 2 out of 3 falls match on SmackDown, but then Edge and Ray would lose it at Survivor Series to Los Guerreros, and then Los Guerreros would be the team that SmackDown would go with to kind of carry the division, which again I think was the right fucking call. And then Angle and Benoit, would go on. Angle would go on to beat Big Show at Armageddon for the WWE title after they screwed Brock, and then Benoit would beat Big Show to get his spot at the Rumble, and then that match happened, which you all know I've talked about that match to death. So, yeah, this was a great narrative piece for their broader overall rivalry. I love everything about this. Not a bad word against it. So, we can move on.
All right, man. Well, after this segment, after this match, we got another match. It was Trish Stratus versus Victoria for the women's title. Underwhelming as all hell. This, honestly, from a pure entertainment standpoint, this was worse than Dawn versus Torrie earlier. It was.
You know what? I have to agree because I don't really think this match got all the legs that it could have yet. I feel like that happened at Survivor Series, and I love Trish.
We also watched.
Yeah, we did, and that live reaction is also on the channel, guys. If you want to check that out. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah. I love Trish. I don't think I'll ever really be able to fully hate Trish because that's my childhood, and we're all very protective psychologically of our childhoods for the most part. But Victoria objectively was the better worker here. Honestly, she had the spot of the match, that slingshot leg drop coming back in the ring.
Yes, that was so good. The flip.
Yeah, that was amazing. And I feel like the right woman went over at Survivor Series because I could understand Trish retaining here because then Victoria would win in her element being a hardcore match at Survivor Series. So I can forgive Trish going over. It's just like, wow, it's a shame that we couldn't get this quote-unquote revolution so many years earlier because you had the workers to do it. Like Molly Holly, I feel like never really got her due. Victoria was great, not only as an in-ring performer, but as a character, which is rare. Because I feel like, those, you either find people that are really good in-ring, maybe suck on the mic, or you're really good on the mic, like saying Enzo, but you can't even do a fucking wrist lock without injuring yourself. When you can strike that balance, that's where I feel like you're golden. And I feel like Victoria was definitely one of those competitors to me. So, yeah, pretty mad match. And Trish retains, and yeah, that's all I can say about it.
Yep. All right. Well, I guess then we get to our final segment, which was when I say final segment, I mean literally the final non-wrestling segment of the night. Rikishi cut a promo about Hell in a Cell and how it's something that he'll never forget, and it's no joke. And this coming off the heels of him being thrown off the Hell in a Cell and landing in a gigantic pile of hay in a truck bed.
Yeah, crazy stuff there from Big Quiche. So just hyping up Hell in a Cell. And yeah, nothing more I could say than that, which means we get our video package and then ultimately our main event, right? Hell in a Cell between Lesnar and Taker.
Hell yeah, Hell in a Cell, Lesnar Taker, and all I can say about this match is blood.
Dude, buckets of it. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you know what though? Again, this rivalry was so personal because Taker's wife got involved. Lesnar broke his arm with a propane tank. Yeah, something needed to be done about this. So I don't blame them for being a lot of blood. Heyman was a great part of this match because, first of all, I love begging weak Heyman. Even now, I can't help but get a drunk on, Brock, we're losing. Brock, what are we doing? My money. So that was great. And then Lesnar and Heyman teaming up to restrain Taker. And then the chair shot against the cast, which, by the way, I feel like they used the cast in a great way here, both offensively on Taker's end, but also to set up sympathetic spots. Like, oh my God, the agony Taker must be in. But the one thing I've got to talk about that I couldn't appreciate back then as a kid, but I can appreciate now, Jesus Christ, Lesnar's athleticism. This dude, you know what? I think I'm always going to be jaded that him and Vince couldn't work something out and that he left. Because had he stuck around when he was this Brock Lesnar, dude, the fucking product we would have gotten. I don't even know if we would have gotten the Cena era or anything like that because those guys had to pick up the load from the gaping hole that Lesnar left. And even if Cena did really become the man, which Lesnar even kind of teased when they did their whole Extreme Rules match, like that never would have happened had I not left. But even if he would have, the story would have been dramatically different because I feel like Brock would have been in JBL's place. And that's another thing, too. It probably would have never gotten, in my opinion at least, an Eddie Guerrero or JBL title run. Like, it is amazing to me. You say, or when I say you, I mean in the general sense. You say that, like, no one person is above WWE, but with how radically Lesnar's departure changed the landscape, like, you could say that he was because all the eggs were in his basket. And it's easy to see why, though, because, like, this dude had a presence and he was legit. And, like, him using the cell to kick the Undertaker on the top rope. And then, like, towards the finish where he counters the tombstone, but he throws Taker up in the air and catches him in the F5 position. Like, this dude is a fucking freak. Hell, you marked out because there was a point where he perched Taker on the top rope just with pure strength to do, like, a superplex spot. Yeah. That was nuts. Like, dude, I'm always going to be thinking about, like, the product we could have gotten. Because I even told you, and I still say this to this day, for as much as I love Benoit, Triple H, Michaels, I feel like if Lesnar had stayed, the plan would have been Benoit Lesnar for the WWE title. And I honestly, to this day, would have preferred that match because I'm the guy that splooges over technical wrestling, right? So, of course, I want these two to go at it again, especially when they had a SmackDown TV match that blew my fucking mind. So I know that this is not talking about No Mercy, and I apologize, but it's just really watching this again, and it was a great match. And yet Taker worked his ass off, and he gave so much blood to make this match work. So hats off to you, Taker. But, like, just the vacuum that Lesnar created, and that I guess Vince allowed to happen by not divesting, like, the proverbial eggs and, like, putting them in other guys. It's just crazy to me how much it changed the product and what we could have gotten but didn't get because those two just had a falling out. So, like, what are your thoughts on this match, man? I'd be curious to hear more of your perspective on this.
This match was really crazy, and it's funny because Taker and Lesnar both got busted open earlier on in the match, but then, like, Lesnar used those steel steps to bust Taker open again, and it was way worse the second time because I literally went back and rewatched it a few times, and when Taker went down to Blade, he must have just dug in way too deep because he was a freaking mess. Literally blood just dripping off of his face, landing on the mat, landing on himself, landing on Brock and his chest and his back and everything. Taker is a consummate pro, and I'll never take that away from him, even if I do think he's overrated. But he's still, like, this was ridiculous. Like, he went way too far on this Blade job. Honestly, I don't even know if this was better or worse than the Eddie Blade job against JBL. I think he might have managed to kind of match Eddie there.
Yeah, dude, I like, what really got me to really illustrate how much blood was fucking lost was when Taker hit the last ride on Lesnar, and he only gets two because Lesnar clutched the rope. And, like, he's coming up from the pin attempt, and blood is just on Brock's chest and his arm coming from Taker's face, like, dripping off. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. I even made the joke, the kind of somewhat obscure reference that it was something out of a Clive Barker film. Like, it just buckets of blood. Jesus Christ. And yeah, Lesnar goes over. Great Hell in a Cell match to me with some inspired spots. I love, again, how they used the cast, both for the heel side of Lesnar making Taker sympathetic and Taker as a fiery babyface fighting back with the best weapon he's got against this animal. And Brock's athleticism, man, and his status and his presence. Jesus Christ, what the hell did we lose? And now we've got it back in a way that we're all sick of it. So there you go. That's how that story ended. But yeah, I've got nothing else to say about this. And by extension, I've got nothing else to say about No Mercy. Great show. If you guys haven't seen it, get a network subscription or find it somewhere and watch it. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like the tag title main event by itself, if you wanted to search out no other match, you should search out that one, in my opinion. And if you're really curious how it used to be in the old days before blood became kind of a rare thing, I won't say a no-no because we still see it happen, but it's rarer now than it was then.
And really, when we do see it now, more times than not, it's hard way, not like a blade.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Although there was that one time when Roman used a blood packet and it looked ridiculous.
God, they were so desperate for him to be likable. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
You could even see the footage of like, not the footage, the photos of like Byron handing it to him, like, oh, here you go, Roman. God damn. But yeah, just watch that one to sell too. And that's all I got to say about it. And I didn't see him in chat, but I do want to say to close out my portion before I give it to Ashton to take us home. Thank you to Iconic Player One for the donation for making both of these videos happen. You know, the live reaction we did on Tuesday and now the review that we're just closing out here. It's very much appreciated, Iconic. And if you guys want to be like Iconic and those before him, do consider donating to the Patreon so you can have your own turn at Content Control. Hell, we've even got, what was it, from Cliff next Tuesday, ECW Heat
That's
Wave
not from
98.
Cliff. That's from Mr. Trayshawn.
Mr. Trayshawn. So Mr. Trayshawn's getting his turn, and he's doing ECW Heat Wave 1998. That's next Tuesday. We'll be going live with that. So, guys, like, it's happening, man. Yeah. People are taking their turns.
Guys, our next, like, 3 weeks are completely loaded front to back. Like, we aren't even necessarily getting breaks on weekends because in 2 weeks we've got live reactions to take over New Orleans and WrestleMania, and then we're gonna just keep going. Like, let me look here, from April 4th till April 13th, so that's basically 10 straight days. We don't have a single day off. We go straight through from the 4th to the 13th, and actually, we're not even going to get a break because it's looking like we're going to be doing progress. So really, from Monday the 2nd until Friday the 13th in April, we have at least one commentary every single day. That ended up being 11 or 12 consecutive days. How stupid and ridiculous is that? That right there, people, that is what we call TWitWoW Mania, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. We go hard all day, all night. But no, in all seriousness, we really
all my proud Southern people who are ready to fight, say yeah!
Yeah! Just thought I'd contribute so we can end it quickly. But yeah, no, we are the, goddamn, I feel like I intimidated everybody a little bit. We are the workhorses of this. Nobody can freaking touch us. Nobody ever will touch us, because when I say we are the best, it's not a little club like, oh, can I be the best? No, there can only be one. Only one. And that's us. I'll fight anybody. I'm sorry. I'm feeling really turned up for no reason. But I'm going to hand the reins over to you so that you could keep people on our product, because you're the sensible one. And thanks to everybody who came out today. I love you guys, and we'll see you again next Tuesday. It's looking like, right?
Yes, sir. That's next Monday we are going to be live reacting to New Japan Strong Style Evolved.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, and I forgot too. Again, I'm kind of blanking out here, guys. I apologize. But tomorrow we do have that Daniel Bryan commentary as well. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, we've got that tomorrow. We've got Strong Style Evolved on Monday. We've got Heat Wave 98 on Tuesday. We've got NXT Wednesday. We've got our March Q&A Thursday. That's next week.
Jesus Christ, people. Our lives belong to you. I'm just going to tell you the same thing I usually tell James when we come together every night. Please be gentle. So I'm just going to leave it to you and Ashton to take us home.
And like I said, that's next week. And then we've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And then we go, boom, straight into it, 12 or 13 or however many days it was, straight with at least one commentary every day for that entire time. It is going to be absolutely insane. TWitWoW Mania is upon us, people. The schedule is on my Twitter profile page. So remember to follow us both on Twitter, like the Facebook page, like this video. Make sure that you let us know that you appreciate the work that we're putting in. And of course, remember to leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought about the show, our thoughts on it, all that stuff. And of course, if you haven't already, remember to subscribe to the channel. And once you do, like or click the little bell icon so you can get notified every time we go live or upload a video. And of course, remember to share TWitWoW with all of your wrestling fan friends. Let them in on the best kept secret in the YouTube wrestling community. We are the workhorses of the YWC, and we about to prove it, baby, when TWitWoW Mania begins in like a week and a half. It's going to be insane. So if you're interested in supporting us, other than the sharing thing, which is huge, you can buy a t-shirt. We have new, nice, clean TWitWoW logo t-shirt available on our Teespring store, or you can support us via Patreon. John already gave you that plug. All that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you all tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be talking about Daniel Bryan's return. We're going to be talking about WWE screwing him out of 2 years of his prime. And we're going to be talking about his dream matches. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to get a rant or two in. And that's all tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Remember to stay tuned.